Transformations begins right now. Welcome to Transformations with Carly and Rick. This is straight talk about life, business, and spirituality. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the show. I'm the Rick part of it, and right next to me over here is Carly. Hey, Carly, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Well, this is a different time for us. It's a Monday at 4 p.m.
It is, and I like the afternoon.
Yeah, I kind of like the afternoon, too, right now. It's pretty good. Got a full day's worth of work done, and now on to having some fun.
Absolutely.
Well, we've got an interesting topic today. We are going to cover East meets West, or the differences between East and West in medical modalities or medical healing methods. Should be pretty good.
I am. I'm really looking forward to this specific episode because too much of our culture is one way or the other way, and there really is a purpose for both and. And, you know, I believe, you hear this all the time, you know, be a vegan, only organic food, don't do this, don't do that. And those people, everybody on some level, somewhere in their life gets sick. And you get into these modalities of this person's, you know, hasn't led a good life. I know people who have never drank a drink in their life, have never smoked a cigarette in their life, and have still gone on to get cancer and pass away.
Oh, sure.
So it's something I really want to talk about because, as you know, of my past medical history and my duplicity of numerous surgeries, and just found out I have to have another one, and still having a positive attitude, and knowing that if I hadn't done certain things, I would have to have had them sooner. And so I really think that people need to learn that there's a balance of both, and that it isn't just one way or the other.
That's true. That's true. And one of the nice things about, as with anything in life, if you're going to get into any kind of, let's say you're not feeling well, you go to a doctor. You don't have to go to a specific doctor. You don't have to go to an alternate medicine doctor. You don't have to go to a Western doctor. You have a lot of choices. You can find a doctor or somebody who can help you with your condition in many different ways. And it doesn't have to be Western medicine. It doesn't have to be Asian. It can be a combination of both. It can be one or the other. And there's no reason to limit yourself or accept what the doctor tells you, because half the time they don't know what they're doing. But that's another issue. There's a lot of things that could go right and wrong when you go see a doctor. Now, Carly, I know you believe in Western medicine. You believe in alternate medicine or alternative medicines, which, by the way, there's nothing alternative about alternative medicine. It's not Western medicine. I always find that really funny. It's just a stupid way of saying it. No, it's not alternative. It's different. It's not Western. I mean, we've been doing medicine in China for many thousands of years before we called it Western medicine here. So, yeah, just one of those little things that I always find kind of like a semi-pet peeve. Like,
what I find fascinating is we, as a United States culture, would literally have not caught up with some of the techniques that have been working in other cultures for eons.
Right.
There's a lot of machinery, like, for example, the Qi machine, which I absolutely love, which has been used actually in Canada, as a matter of fact. It's an FDA-approved grade 3 medical device now. And it has been, they've been using it in, as they call, Chinese hospitals, which are actually some hospitals that have no surgery. It's just a hospital where they dispense herbs and use Qi machines and all sorts of different types of energy healing modalities. And they've been using, and all of a sudden now we're getting these FDA approved in our areas, in our, United States. And they've been using this stuff forever. And what I've really found fascinating as eons ago, the placebo effect, it really goes down to, in some level, of what you truly believe. If you honestly believe for you that is so, that the Qi machine will work, it will. If you think it's a bunch of hooey, then it won't. And they've done that time and time again with the placebo studies. And I think in a previous episode, I brought up that one fascinating it was a blind study where they brought people into the operating room to fix a knee.
Right.
They had two groups, and they all had knee issues, swelling and a tear, by the way, an actual real tear that the MRI or X-ray showed there actually was a knee tear. They brought all parties into the operating room and did make an actual medical incision on the knee. The fascinating part is they didn't fix everybody. Half the people got the tear fixed. The other half of people did not get the tear fixed. However, they still had the incision as if they were operated on. Do you know that both parties, both groups, study groups, healed the same?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
I mean, so if we really get into our core beliefs and what we find to be true. And the same thing with people getting diagnosed with cancer. The people that say, it's my death sentence and get really angry and bitter and just want to die now, literally die sooner than the people that have the proactive mentality of, yes, I have cancer, let me look into the ways in my life that may be stress or what I'm eating or lack of exercise or the various things that are going on in their life and work on those, and they have gone on to, gone into remission and not die or have died years and years and years later.
Well, Carly,
of recurrence.
This is interesting too, but almost every one of us has cancer at one point or other in life and don't even know it, and it's gone afterwards.
Yeah,
happens all the time.
That goes into the movie I wanted to bring up. There's a slide. I think it's like the fourth slide. It's called "The Cure Is You." That is an amazing, amazing, fascinating movie. It's with Marianne Williamson, Dr. Bruce Lipton, and the reason why I'm bringing up Dr. Bruce Lipton is because they actually go into. He created in an actual laboratory setting little petri dishes, and he put the same tissues in all three different dishes. And different environments, however. So each dish, so in the petri dish was the same tissue from, in each dish. However, then he took the dishes and moved them into different environments. And depending on the environment, it created different things. So it goes back to our biology, and he has a book called Biology of Belief, which is really, really just, it'll blow your mind, actually. And so that goes into, again, that we are the cure on some level. And I agree with that immensely. I really do, in terms of, I do get that what we talk, how we self-talk to ourselves, what we say, having the positive attitude does shift illness, does shift us into wellness. And I also believe that on some level, there's some things that, like you said, we're all born with the herpes virus, for example. We all have viruses in our body. Then it either gets activated or not. We have a lot of inborn, from the time we're born, illnesses and diseases. And then it's just exposure to different environments, exposure to what we eat, lack of exercise, all these different things that either trigger and make something, start or accelerate or not. And then I also think that, again, you and I have had this discussion many times. There's so many theologies and beliefs and, karma. There's some people that believe that you're here and if you've had all these illnesses that in a previous life you've done all this to somebody else, and therefore now you're experiencing what happened, what you did to others in a previous life. So we could go on in an endless circle for hours on this conversation.
That's true. That's true. And there's a lot of things that people believe as an excuse for why they have what they have. Mm-hmm. But that's a whole other issue too, because there's a lot of disease we have is nothing more than a psychosomatic.
Yes,
there's
and
quite a bit of that.
I do want to address that, though, because that is also a dangerous thing that's happened in psychology where, doctors, people they're literally feeling pain on a visceral level, and I'll address that with phantom limb pain. So you go to a doctor, you're in massive pain, they're telling you you're crazy. And yes, I agree that there are times when people can be a little bit more hypochondriac or that they're having an illness that I would say it's more of an unconscious stuff that's going on that's bringing something up. However, study after study have shown that people have come back from the war and have had amputations. They can still feel the limb as if it's not there. And I get a lot of phantom pains from a lot of the surgeries that I've had. And it is a very fascinating experience. The awareness, the funny part is when it first happens, you're kind of freaked out. And then after a while, you just kind of talk to it and it actually goes away. And it's a very fascinating feeling because it can be very surreal and very painful. And at the same time, you do sometimes going like, what the heck? Why am I feeling pain there? I don't have that anymore. I don't have that body part anymore, you know?
Well, a lot of that's also part of the neural network that
Yes.
even though you've gotten rid of the organ or the part, the neural system still has a memory of it being there. And it can actually trigger via memory the neural system. So in other words, the nerves, the synapses will actually discharge even though that body part is gone. And they've done some testing and training on people to change the way the neural system works. They've also used electricity, electromagnetics, sound, other things to kind of retrain the nervous system so that you don't feel the pain where you did feel it before. It's really pretty fascinating that even though we're not integral, if you will, anymore, that part to our nervous system still exists or can exist, not in all cases, but it can exist. And it is fascinating.
It is. And it's also amazing how we adapt, how our bodies, our internal organs and our internal bodies literally adapt to the removal either of an organ or a limb. And one of my favorite, I guess, exercise is the mirror work. When you have a loss of a limb or you're given a new part, if you will, a prosthetic or literally a whole new joint, if you do some mirror work, it actually is quite fascinating how it does decrease some of the symptoms and the pain. It's almost like it is there because of the mirror, and so it does. It's amazing what it does, and that goes back. I really encourage everybody to watch the movie The Cure Is You, because it will challenge you the way you think about illness and disease and your own belief systems and how you can, even if you are sick, okay, or you are going through challenges medically, having that mindset of I can versus I can't. And what I want to really bring back to what Rick said, which is so important. We go to doctor's appointments, we get a diagnosis, and we ruminate in our minds. We just go over and over and over about the diagnosis. So I encourage people to get away from the diagnosis. In other words, whatever the diagnosis is, don't make that be who you are, or that is, your life becomes that diagnosis. Find ways to still thrive and live. For example, when I had my knee surgery, I'm still here at home, right? And I'm still having conversations with Rick via Skype. I found ways, I Skype with my clients in Alaska and Canada. I'm doing a lot more mentoring via phone and Skype versus before I'd be doing a lot more producing and directing outdoors. So if you're having challenges that are limiting mobility or what have you, find ways that you can still be interacting with others, interacting with friends, in literally thriving in some way business. Because if you do nothing and you vegetate and get into the depressiveness of your situation, that is only going to accelerate it, number one. And that doesn't help. It doesn't do anything. It does not help at all.
No, and in fact, take a look at it from a simple point of view. You get up in the morning, my throat feels a little scratchy. Oh my God, I'm getting a cold. Guess what you're going to have? You're probably going to have a cold. More often than not, we encourage illness to come on in. You get a symptom. Oh, my nose is itchy. Oh man, I've got a flu. No, you probably have a mild allergy at best, but you know what? Within moments, you probably will have a flu. We encourage ourselves to be sick by our speech, by our thoughts, because the minute you start thinking, oh no, I don't feel well, guess what? You're not going to feel well. And if you keep reinforcing that thought, I really don't feel well. I just feel awful today. I woke up, I was sore, I was terrible. Next thing you know, you're sick. Why are you sick? Because you just keep saying, yeah, I really want to be sick. Because sick gives me an excuse to feel something else maybe. Or, hey, I don't have to go to work today. Isn't that great? I feel sick. By the way, that's always a fun one, too, when people call in sick and it's like, hello? I feel so sick today. You just go,
Man.
Do you really feel that sick, or is that the I feel sick voice? I mean, why do people always fake that they're really sick when they're not that sick? They're just sick. It's just sort of an interesting aside. But literally, our self-talk, what we think and what we say affects exactly who we are and what we feel.
It's so true. And I can't emphasize enough how important it is to have a positive attitude no matter what you're going through. I also want to address why I had that one image about me being the buff bodybuilder and the very overweight person. And because me and Rick have had a very lengthy conversation. We were both athletes, right? And I think we need to address also, people get so focused on eating organic and being an amazing exercise, fanatic, that we really lose the focus of a middle ground. It is not healthy to exercise to the degree me and Rick exercise. It isn't. Now, I'm not saying that has... Now, let me preframe this. The reason why I did exercise crazily is because I did have medical issues, and they told me I needed to maintain my bone density, okay? Because I didn't want to be in a wheelchair even younger. I'm 48 now, and if I wasn't doing some of the things that I did earlier, I'd be in a lot worse shape than I am now. However, did I overdo it? Yes. Being anorexic or having bulimia is not a way to either lose weight and be healthy. And I think in our culture as a society, we have gotten I just see it over and over and over again with clients and athletes and Olympians. There's extremes. We need to find a balance. You don't need to be in the gym for 2 hours a day. You also don't need to be a sloth and overweight. Okay. Now, mind you, I've also been overweight though when I have been active, and it was due to medical issues. And that is another thing that's, I think, really hurtful for a lot of people that are carrying a little bit of extra weight, and it really is for medical reasons, and they really are, bound to a wheelchair, what have you. I know since my recovery, I know I've gained some weight, and because there's some stuff going on, and yet I'm still moving as much as I can and doing what I can, and I'm doing, and I can't beat myself up, and I know that it'll come off again. So I just think I can't emphasize enough how important it is to find balance and not to beat our bodies up and deprive ourselves so intently on, and Rick and I have had the conversations about the different, this show's not going to be about telling what to do and what not to do and about the thousands of different types of diets out there, because I never even use that word. For me, it's about food choices. It's about a healthy lifestyle to the best of your ability. I'm not going to tell you, because Rick's going to tell you to eat Oreos, and I'm going to disagree with him. Because me and him laugh about these types of different things.
I'm not limited to Oreos. Chips Ahoy are very good. Lorna Doones are really good. Have you ever had a Lorna Doone? They're good.
Okay.
And let's not even talk donuts. Donuts are good. And by the way, I'm a little bit older than Carly. I'm 59. I'm actually fairly healthy, and I eat anything. I really don't care what I eat. And for the most part, I've got a little extra weight on me, but underneath I'm solid. So it's just a winter coat. And,
so you have to be, bottom line is you have to be okay with you. If you're happy with you and you're not diagnosed with a bunch of different medical problems, as long as you're having a balance, a donut is not going to kill you. A cookie is not going to kill you, even if it's not an organic cookie, okay? Now, where I disagree with Rick is if you already have medical issues, if you already have medical issues, then I'd be a little more careful about what you eat. If you're already a person that is not medically challenged and are healthy, you can get away with eating the donut, the Chips Ahoy, the Oreo. But for people that are toxicity to or have allergies to gluten and already have a lot of medical challenges, if you do not pay a little more attention to what you eat and you don't pay more attention to your getting more sleep and taking care of yourself, those type of people do tend to pay a little more for doing that. So again, common sense. That's all I'm saying. This is common sense. And my way may not work for you. Rick's way may not work for you. You have to find what works for you and something that you can stick to. Because the whole yo-yoing, going stick thin, heavy, middle, this whole wave of yo-yoing is really traumatic on the body and actually totally screws up your metabolism beyond belief.
One of the best ways to lose weight, and we can talk about this at another time. I think we did a little bit on weight loss, but is feel how full you are, and the minute you're full, stop. And it sounds easy. It actually is. The thing is, if you can control that urge to finish that huge Italian portion that's in front of you, no matter how big it is, just eat until you're full. Leave the rest. It may kill you to leave the rest, but it'll probably kill you more to eat it. Just let it go. And more often than not, you will lose weight. And you don't have to do that much to lose the weight because, in essence, it's very easy. Watch what you eat a little bit. I never watch what I eat. Just when I say watch what you eat, watch how much you eat. Cut back on stuff. You don't need to eat as much as you do. And most restaurants tend to give you 4 times as much as anybody can really actually eat. Take it home. Eat it later. But eat until you're full. And believe me, your brain has a sensor that says, I'm full. and your other part of your brain goes, who cares? Let's eat some more.
Well, that's an interesting thing. Actually, our hunger signal has we don't drink. We'll get to that. It's the water. We don't drink enough water, and actually, half the time when we think we're hungry, it's that we're thirsty. And that whole mechanism, as a culture, has gotten dimmed down to the point where we don't really know what true hunger pain is. And again, to what Rick is saying, is about being full really feels like. We eat way beyond the part of actually nourishing our bodies and being full. And we're going to do a whole nother show just on, we'll discuss actually what as weight loss is because for me, I never use the words diet or weight loss or lose weight, because in reality, when you tell someone lose weight, it's like if I lose my keys, my first inclination is to go find my keys. I don't want to find the weight. I want to literally eliminate, release the baggage, release the weight. So that's a whole nother conversation, and that's not what we're talking about today. But that's just a little bit of tidbit on it. But I did want to touch in a little bit about the water, because we're beings that are made, a huge portion of water, and we just do not, as a culture, drink enough water. We drink gallons of coffee, soda, tea. We drink everything except for water.
Well, no, water isn't all that.
What?
It all is water. It's just water with stuff in it.
Right. Well, it is and it isn't, though, in terms of how your body, in other words, coffee and tea is acidic. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about getting enough alkaline beverages in our body. Right. Alkaline, and water is one of the most alkalizing and hydrating things there is, besides like coconut water. There are a lot of other things you can drink besides water, which a lot of people don't like because it has no flavor. Mm-hmm. That will give you the electrolyte balance that your body
that's
needs.
Interesting. Water has a flavor, and some water is really, really good tasting. The problem is we've killed our taste buds with all the other stuff, so we can't really taste the water.
That's true, too.
Because, I remember, I still love water, and depending where you go, if you go back east, water is better than it is in California. Our California water is not the best tasting on earth. But you go to New York, water tastes really good there. You go to Canada, the water's cold. It just tastes like it just came off the mountains. Water is different depending where you go. Sometimes you go to places where the water's a little muddy. You can have that slightly more earthy, gravelly taste, if you will. Water changes depending on your location, but water does taste. And we are so out of tune, like the coffee, the sodas, everything will kind of kill the taste buds after a while. And so when you have good, regular, clean water, you go, yeah, that didn't taste like much. Well, right, that's the whole idea. But it did taste like something. Just didn't taste like Coca-Cola. By the way, I like Coca-Cola.
It's true. They've done studies. If you actually stopped sprinkling stuff on your food and just doing a little less, a little less, a little less, a little less, after a while you won't want all that seasoning on your food. And then that's a whole nother conversation as well, because there's certain herbs that are very good for you. And so that's my point about this show today is like an endless conversation.
It is.
Because bland food, yes, we want to engage our natural, in other words, again, balance. We need to tap into our bodies, what we feel, what we taste. And if we over bombard our food with herbs, we are not allowing our taste buds to experience food for what it is. And there are some herbs that are very healthy for you that actually are good for you. So it's like, again, I don't think putting nothing on your food is the answer. I just don't, because I think there are a lot of herbs that are helpful for you. And at the same time, I don't think bombarding your food with a zillion type of herbs is helpful either. No. And that's what I'm saying about our culture has gone to extremes, either no salt or, pour on the salt. Well, to me, is what type of salt are you putting on? Are you putting sea salt on your food, which is very different than the iodized sea salt, which is bleached to even get that color of white, and it's got other stuff in it besides salt. So, it's like, what are you putting on your food?
But ultimately, one of the things is we worry about what we eat. The more you worry, the sicker you're going to get. Don't worry about it. Really, that's a large part of it. We spend way too much time worrying. We worry about being fat. We worry about this. We worry about that. Worry's not a good thing. If you worry all the time, that's going to cause toxins in your body to get released. You're not going to feel that well because you're worrying. Like that old saying, when you have a cut or something and people start worrying it, they're just constantly going like this. So they're worrying the cut. What are they doing? They're bothering the cut. Same with the foods you eat, the things you think. If you're always worrying something, well, you're not at ease. When you're not at ease, things don't work too well. But I think everybody worries about, oh my God, I just had a donut. What am I going to do? Enjoy it. Have a good time. And then move on. Don't dwell on the fact you had a donut and feel guilty about it. If you're going to feel that guilty, don't have the donut. Make it simple on yourself.
And you bring up a very valid point, and they've actually done studies on that as well, that if you're eating a cookie and you're feeling guilty while you're eating the cookie, you might as well just take the cookie and put it on your hip. Like, seriously. So either make the choice of to enjoy the cookie or to not eat the cookie. And then, and again, there are some issues. There are people that are really food addicts. Mm-hmm. If you give them that one cookie, they're going to eat the whole box.
Sure.
So again, like the topic is a very lengthy topic. And our goal today was just to touch on some things to get you to think a little more, to think about your, again, choices. What are you choosing in your life? Are you choosing to be an extremist and never give yourself a piece of candy or a piece of chocolate and work out in the gym for 2 hours a day? Or are you choosing to be a sloth and eat popcorn while you're watching TV all day long? Okay? So there has to be some sort of balance in your life. Yes, you can have the cookie. Yes, you can have the piece of chocolate. To what degree are you doing that? Are you eating the box or are you having the cookie? And what I have found when I teach clients time and time and time again, you are the person bringing the food in your house, okay? You have the choice to choose what you buy and bring into your house. So what I find is, if I have a sweet tooth, so I'm not going to keep a ton of sweets in the house. I will go out, if I'm out, eating someplace, I'll allow myself to have that dessert because I'm out and that's, it's a treat, if you will. If I have boxes and boxes of cookies and chocolates and ice cream, that is not going to do me any good because I'm going to be constantly, fighting or being challenged about whether to eat the cookie or not. So know yourself. If you're going to have issues having that food in your house, don't have it in the house. If you're the type of person who can have one cookie each day, then great. There are a lot of people that can't do that. And they'll actually have that, what Rick was talking about, that guilt. They go by the fridge and they want to take ice cream out. Oh, no, I can't do that. And it's just this nonstop fight of knowing that in the freezer there's that chocolate chip ice cream.
Right.
Know who you are. Know your triggers. And don't surround yourself with your triggers.
No, now in my case, my wife, she usually goes off to the market. I actually don't go for one good reason. I will buy a lot of junk if I go. So she goes. And she comes back, did you buy anything good? She goes, nope. Oh, darn. And she doesn't. Any cookies? No. How about cake? No. Okay. Ice cream? No. And every so often she'll buy something, and she'll let me know like a week later. There's an old joke, and you open the fridge, most guys go, can't find it. Where's the milk? Where's this? Where's that? It's pretty true. I literally cannot find anything in the fridge. And I'll ask her, where's the milk? It's right in front of you. Where? Looking, never see it. And so she'll buy something really sweet or good. I won't notice it for about a week. And she goes, by the way, did you have those cookies? What cookies? And then I'll eat them and it's okay. It's fine. But so that's my filter. I know that if I go to the market, I will tend to go into bachelor mode, 30-something years ago and go, hey, junk food. And I'll buy all sorts of junk. And it doesn't bother me, but it's just not exactly the best kind of eating. She won't do that. She buys fairly decent food. Not fun food per se, but decent food. And so, but that's a good way to work that through. So use whatever you have at your disposal to filter some of your foods as well. If you can't control yourself and you want it, like I do when I want my sweets, that's my filter. And it kind of works.
Well, also choose, there's another piece to that as well. What you were talking about, again, having someone else do the shopping, or when you said not fun food. Now, I don't necessarily agree with that because I think all food can be fun.
Oh, sure. It
just depends on, how you prepare it. What is your – because everyone has – I know some people like – and again, that's a whole other thing, your taste buds. Some people like salty. Some people like sweet.
No, but that was fun food for me.
Right, exactly. So that's where I'm going.
Not for you. That's just strictly my fun food.
Right. So you need to kind of know – and that's a good thing I always give people in exercise. We actually do a 3-day filmed – we go into people's houses and we film for 3 days, and it's literally giving them the experience. It's like kind of like the Biggest Loser when they go into houses and dump everything into trash cans. Well, we create three piles. Give away, in other words, donate. I don't believe in throwing it all in the trash because there's always someone somewhere that, I would donate the food. I just don't agree with throwing it out. Now, obviously, if it's half open and it's garbage, it goes in the garbage can. So we have 3 piles: garbage, donate, and keep. and then we actually tear apart the kitchen, rebuild it, and restock it. And we go for a food shopping experience and all that. And we actually teach them how to read food labels. That's the other problem. It's not because people are stupid. It's honestly because a lot of people have not been educated. They haven't been educated even how to read a can. They don't realize when they're flipping a can over or a box over, the very first ingredient is the most that's in that product. So the items or the ingredients are listed in order of quantity in a product. So a lot of it's just a lack of education as to what some of the things that are in the products are, how toxic they are, how benign they are, or whatever. And then again, choosing what your fun foods are, and then getting creative on allowing yourself to have those fun foods, and then taking other foods that maybe aren't your fun category on how to make them where they are fun. And that's the thing. Learn. There's so many resources out there. There's coaches, and there's the free internet. There's libraries. There's nutritionists. There's so many ways to learn. And I just encourage you to learn. And I also encourage you to explore other modalities to see if that's something that resonates for you. Some people love acupuncture. Some people are like, no way. Some people love, massage. Some people love doing flower essences, herbs. And I'm going to say something I addressed with Rick earlier, and he's like, oh, I don't, that's hooey. To me, I have found in over 25 years of studying with people and the different archetypes is there's certain things that tend to work better with others, and this goes into our electrical system. So herbs tend to work really good with people that are very much into earth, like they like getting their hands in the grass, or playing with plants. And there's something about, and you got to understand that herbs they are actually from earth, more earth-based material, versus flower essences are from flowers and actually tend to do really, really well with people that have more of I can't explain it. It's just what some people will call airy energy, or someone, I can't explain it, but it's
maybe
playing
more
with
delicate,
flowers.
maybe a more delicate kind of energy.
Yes, it is, and it's very fascinating. And I've actually played with this a lot, and it tends that my males tend to do really good with herbs, and my females tend to do really, really well with flower essences. And flower essences are distilled, and actually they've done studies on this. It actually works with your electrical system, your nervous system. And herbs tend to work, and this is a whole nother conversation because me and Rick can get into this about chi and prana and, ka.
Well, look at chamomile.
You know.
Chamomile is a perfect example of a flower that is extremely beneficial to the nervous system, to calm down the nervous system. A lot of medicines actually use essence of chamomile, or herbs even will combine chamomile with teas and everything else. Like, for example, chamomile and rose hips, very common combination for nervous system as well as immune system, joint pain, things like that. And those are, again, two flowers that do wonders for the nervous system of anybody. Yeah.
So I encourage you guys to explore that. If anyone has any real detailed questions or wants help in that, feel free to inbox me. And in the back, at the end of at the film, or even when we post it, there's always our contact information. And it's very amazing what can happen. I mean, there's one flower remedy called, it's actually called Rescue Remedy, and it's used for when you have intense trauma. And it actually they've done studies with that it actually does calm the nervous system down. And I can't explain I'm not a scientist, okay, so I can't explain to you exactly how it works. I just know from years of studying herbs and flower essence and working with clients what I have seen. And the same thing goes, again, back to Western medicine. I have seen people who've had cancer opt out of taking the chemotherapy because the chemotherapy was going to kill them. And I've had people believe that the chemotherapy was going to cure them, and it did. So I can't emphasize enough also Western medicine, because if you have a heart attack and you're in ER, trust me, the flower essence isn't going to cure your heart attack. We can't be so naive to think that Western medicine doesn't have a place. Now, right now I am on some Western medications. I'm not thrilled about it because I tend to love Eastern ways more, except what's going on right now, I don't have a choice. And if I don't take them, I pay dearly. So don't be so ignorant enough to think that it's only one way or the other way. For me to be so naive to think that if I can only do, and believe me, I've done that for 10 years and plus. I did the, only eating organic. I did the experiments with just being vegan, then just being vegetarian, then doing paleo. I've done all sorts of things to see how my body feels. and what's going on medically, because I've had medical problems since I was born. And so I've worked really hard at experimenting with various modalities. I'm a Reiki master instructor. I'm an integrated energy therapy master instructor. I'm an interfaith ordained minister. So it's not for lack of exploring or doing to see what would work and work best with me. And I have to tell you, whether I like it or not, Western medicine, at least for my particular medical situation, really has a place. And it bothers me when people get so ignorant to say that if someone's really, really suicidal and they've done all these other things, do not take Western meds and do not take an antidepressant, or don't take the cardiac drug so you don't have another heart attack. You have to be smart, know who you are, and feel out your values and your belief systems and explore the various things out there. I'm not saying it's all Western, and I'm not saying it's all Eastern. I'm saying that both things have a place depending on what is going on with you as a specific individual. We're not cookie cutters. Yeah, everybody's body is unique and different.
Now, one of the big differences between Western and Eastern medicines is that the Eastern medicine tends to view the body as a series of systems, whereas Western medicine has a tendency to view it as a series of symptoms. And so you're dealing with allopathic medicine, which is mostly symptom-based. You're curing a symptom. The problem is symptoms could be part of a system. That is the biggest error or mistake in Western medicine. The problem with Western meds is that often Western meds are derived from actually Eastern or natural medications, synthesized, made much, much more powerful, and now they've lost their balance. So, for example, if you're sick and you need to get well quickly, go on a Western med, but get off quickly too.
Yes.
Because the Western med in the long run is going to make you sicker. The Eastern med can make you better, but by the time you get better, you're dead. So you got to, it's better to hit it with the Western first, then maybe move on to the Eastern.
And then, also make sure your doctor or practitioner, whoever you're seeing, knows what you're doing.
Yep. If
you're seeing a Western doctor and you're taking all these Eastern meds, I have a printed out list. These are all the Eastern things I take. I take chondroitin glucosamine. I take, stuff for my eyes, lutein. I do lots of different herbs or nutraceuticals. And so I have to be honest with my doctors if I'm going through something and I have to be on a short-term whatever, okay? And now I also need to do a whole disclaimer for me, Rick, here. Neither of us are doctors. No. We're not telling you what to do. If you have any sort of medical issue or serious problems, you dial 911 or you do go consult with your doctor, because we are not doctors. We're giving you Rick has had a lot of personal medical challenges and joint issues. We're giving you our expertise. He's, I'm 48. Rick is 59 right now, right?
Yep.
Right? And so we're coming from our own backgrounds, our own experiences with clients, ourselves personally, what we've been through. And so we encourage you to find what works best for you, encourage you to be, and here's the thing, most people lie to their doctors. Please don't lie. Be honest. Tell them what's really going on, because it may be something that's triggering you. And I did want to bring this up, and I don't want to forget this. It's so important. If you have a background of abuse of any kind, or you have post-traumatic stress disorder, please be honest with your doctors, because a lot of times the illnesses that you're having now or pains a lot of times can be linked or triggered to other things. And I deal with this all the time because I did grow up with that, and I do have post-traumatic stress disorder, and I've learned to listen to my body. I've learned to know what my triggers are. I've learned, you can't hide, okay? You can't put your issues under the carpet. It does not work. It's going to come back to bite you in the butt, okay? And you're going to have an episode somewhere you're not going to want to have it in the middle of nowhere or with some friends. Know your triggers. Be honest with whoever you're working with. And believe me, if you do that, you can have a blend of the East and the West, or more inclined to the East, whatever it is that you need. It's out there. Just please go find. I encourage you to be just honesty. I can't emphasize that enough. Too many people put things under the carpet and are embarrassed, are ashamed that, I've been abused. They're ashamed. I don't want anyone knowing I was raped. I don't want anyone knowing this. And it's not helping you, because and they can't help you. They don't know what's going on.
Yeah, and if you go into denial, that is a river in Egypt. It is not something you want to go to your doctor with. Don't go into denial, because that doesn't help your doctor or you. Remember, doctors have really no idea what's wrong with you. They base it on whatever clues you give them, whatever tests they run, and whatever you tell them. You tell them wrong information, you give them bad clues. The only thing they have now is the tests. And tests on their own don't tell you everything. They tell you partial things.
And I also encourage you have a voice. Advocate for yourself if you need help. I went to this one doctor and he was actually praising me. I was like, really? He's like, if it wasn't for your depth of your body and the depth of your knowledge and you having all this documentation, it would have taken me 3 visits to figure out what to do with you. And since you came in with all this information, I now know exactly what I need to do.
Right. And that part of that is make sure you educate yourself. Very few doctors will spend the time to educate you.
No. They don't have the time. The way our medical system's set up, they have only a window, 15 minutes, depending on what your tier is.
If you're lucky, you get 15 minutes.
Right. It depends on what your plan is. If you have a very expensive insurance plan, you might get more. If you have lesser, you might have less. So I encourage everyone to take a basic first aid course. If you can, take a CPR course and learn a little about anatomy and physiology. Learn a little bit about how our systems work, how our organs work. That's why we have those slides up there. I encourage you to freeze frame on those slides and look at about water and how it helps it helps digestion, it helps elimination process, it helps your joints. I encourage you to find out more about lemon water. People think lemons are acidic. They're not. Lemons are alkaline. I encourage you to learn about alkaline and acidity because they've done studies where disease grows in acid. The more you feed your body alkaline foods, the less disease process happens or breaking down of your body.
And there's a great book called Sodium Bicarbonate, a full medical review by Dr. Mark Sircus, Sircus. I recommend you read that. It's a great book which talks about acidity, alkalinity, and how sodium bicarbonate really balances that. Aside from foods, it's one of the most natural cures. And not only that, but sodium bicarbonate is used more and more in cancer treatments because it kills the cancer, which is a fungus usually. Very fascinating stuff.
Well, we'll put up a bunch of links for resources in this particular episode. I'm also going to be doing a blog post and embedding the video into the blog. And in that blog, I'll have the links to some of these things that like Rick's talking about, I'm talking about. Our whole goal with our show is literally to give you it's more to get you to think, to give you resources, and to go out there and do something with that. And just to sometimes you hear something and you go, oh wow, I never thought of that. Is to just point things out, to give you some of those little aha moments for then you to decide what works best for you. So our whole goal in the show is to expand your horizons, if you will, or open some doors that you may have possibly not have known about before.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, one thing Carly mentioned earlier, and be careful with this. When you tell the doctor, if you go to a Western doctor, that you're taking lutein, that you're taking this, that, they have no idea what you're talking about 90% of the time. Lutein, never heard of it.
It's very true.
It's sad. They have no idea about vitamins. Short of what pharma tells them, they really don't know much about. There are exceptions. I went to one endocrinologist. She only specialized in vitamins. She didn't like giving meds unless she had to. More often than not, she attacked it with vitamins or supplements, herbs. And it worked pretty well. But they don't. If you're into vitamins, herbs, good luck. Most doctors have no clue what you're talking about.
Now, this is where I encourage every single person to write. You get a piece of paper, you write out what you're taking, and you put what it's for, and you type it up. I don't go to any doctor anywhere without my meds list, which includes Eastern and or Western, whatever's going on at that particular moment, and my medical history. Because if you go to one doctor and they send you to another doctor, half the time the records don't get transferred properly, and then it's a game of attempting to get the paperwork. If you're going to see a specialist, have your documentation in order. It'll save you a lot of time. It'll save you from endless visits, by the way. I go there with my results. I bring my lab results. I bring whatever records I need. I have physically in my hand. First of all, it's my medical history. It's my body. For them to say that you can't have your medical records or your results is craziness. You sign a release and you get copies of all your material. So when you go to see a new doctor or a specialist, you have what you need. You go there with your x-ray results, your lab results, whatever it is. And again, if you are taking vitamins, if you are taking herbs, whatever else you're taking, you have a printed list. And you say, here's the information. I want the copies back. In other words, let them go make copies, and then you get the information back. So you always have an ongoing file at home of what's going on. And if you are going through something that you see repeatedly happen, take notes. Listen. Look, your body is constantly talking to you. Listen to it.
Well, no,
you know your body's better than they do.
Also, when you go see a doctor, you have a phone. Turn on your recorder. You can record what they're telling you. If you don't want to take notes, just turn it on. They won't even know it's on, but as a result, you'll know what they're telling you. You'll remember that later on. And one last thing, I think, before we cut this long, we're almost on an hour.
Oh, my God.
Do not think that because a treatment like a vitamin, an herb, or a supplement is natural, it can't kill you. It can. Just like anything else, you have to know what you're doing. And a lot of these are, like Carly said earlier, blood thinners.
Yeah.
Too much blood thinning, you could die.
Yeah, so, again, if you are going to take herbs, flower essences, homeopathy, I mean, this is more than one show. You have to know what those things do, and you have to know what interacts. I went and took a course, a state-certified course on dispensing meds, just so I knew what the Western pharmacology was, okay? And I also took courses through very reputable sources on herbs, flower essences, and homeopathy. You need to know because those things interact. So if you're taking flower essences, and then you're taking some herbs, and then you're taking some Western medicines, you have to know your stuff. So do your due diligence and your research. Don't just take things blindly for the sake of taking them because on the TV it said this is going to give you – the biggest one I love is all the infomercials and on all different things that will make you lose weight, okay? No pill's going to make you lose weight. Okay, I'll tell you that right now.
That's true.
It's a combination of what you eat, if you move your body, and a bunch of other things. Can they help curb your appetite? Yeah. Maybe. But we have a society that lives on caffeine. I know so many people that, and from being in the entertainment industry, okay, where all they do is smoke cigarettes and drink coffee on set because they didn't want to be near the craft services. And that is not a diet, smoking cigarettes nonstop and drinking coffee just to stay thin. And then on top of that, taking the ephedrine, the caffeinated pills, so they're constantly buzzing and thinking that's going to rev their metabolism up. It's going to destroy your adrenal system, and you're going to be in another mess.
And you wind up in chronic fatigue syndrome, among other things. But we are at the end of the show. I don't know about you, but I'm probably going to have some pizza and some cookies after this and feel pretty good about life.
Okay, so I encourage everybody to listen to your bodies. Your bodies know there's constantly talking to you. Go check out the resources. I encourage you to leave some comments in Vimeo. If you want to inbox me or Rick on Twitter, and then we can get back to you, feel free. And if you have any questions or want to hear about a topic, let us know. Because we get inboxes, and a lot of times I create these shows based on inboxes I get on my Facebook from clients and friends. So if you have a topic you really want to know some more about, or you just want some general information, please feel free to leave us comments, Twitter, wherever.
We're very accessible. All right, we are showing the closing screen. You can see some of the URLs there and some of the other information. And Carly, I will see you next week.
Yay!
On Transformations with you and me. Have a good one, everyone. Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks.